THPTV
podcast.
And the people that are finding this out right now, they believe that the kind of light that the electricity was giving was LED sort of kind of light.
The power grid is set up because we have a need for electricity, because we have phones and cameras and cars and, all this good shit. They had copper and stones, they had sleds.
I'll tell you something, like electricity, these people, the Egyptians were harnessing electricity. So the way that it was formed, it's a huge ass pyramid. With this, they accomplished height. When you're all the way high, what do you attract? You can attract lightning. You can attract many things. You can also attract frequency.
You can attract lightning if it's metal. It has to be electrically conductive.
And gold is a good electric conductor.
Yes.
Well, shit.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to THPTV.
Welcome back to the THPTV podcast.
Yes, indeed. Today we have another episode for you guys going into the pyramids. We've got, hopefully, SK here. That's SK. Me here, I'm Crispy.
For those just tuning in, just coming in and checking out our podcast, we're not flat earthers, just to let you guys know. We're talking about another new conspiracy today, that's the pyramids.
Yes, indeed. That was, we were just talking about this beforehand.
I was telling Crispy here that for a while I thought I was getting scared that people would think that we're a flat earth channel, but we're not. We're more like a conspiracy channel and theories channel. So
a conspiracy channel that also talks about that kind of brings it back and focuses on the real world. We're not just going on outlandish theories like what's his name? The lizard guy.
Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, there we go. Mark Zuckerberg being a lizard. See, there you go.
No,
we're not going outlandish like that.
I heard now that he's a robot. That he somehow transfused his freaking brain or memory, whatever the fuck you want to call it, consciousness is a good word, into a computer, into a robot. So this man is out there, the metaverse, doing God knows what, going through your news, emails.
He's always been doing that. He's got Facebook, man.
Man, shit. You think some people think that we might be playing around? Well, I don't know if people are playing around, but I do believe. I don't strongly believe, but I do believe that we're all being watched under some AI kind of thing. Because come on, it's 2021. We got Bluetooth everywhere. We got Wi-Fi everywhere. We got Wi-Fi toasters, Wi-Fi climate knobs, right?
Yeah, everything is connected to the internet in some way. I do definitely believe we're being watched and tracked. I mean, the government knows where you are all the time because you have your phone, and your phone has GPS, so they know where you are. They know what you do on the internet because most of their servers most servers are Amazon servers, and so the Amazon most likely gives that information to anyone that has money to take it.
Bill Gates, yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
And so we're definitely being monitored. I mean, that's what the NSA, National Security Association, does.
Right.
They just sit there and monitor audio and video recordings everywhere. So that's how they're employed.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly would like to be one of them former NSA employee or whatever, who's been spying on people, bring them on the podcast and be like, yo, so
I'm sure they couldn't talk about that. They have to have an NDA signed.
What if they're all robots? What if they're all AI? What if we've gone too far and we cannot go back anymore? But anyways, let's not get into that hole. We're talking about pyramids today. We're talking about the three-dimensional figure that a lot of people think it's a tomb for the pharaohs. Other people think it's secret cult base. Other people think it's for religious purposes.
Some think it's for not me, but some think it's for the aliens, and one comment on YouTube that made me giggle, maybe, just maybe, the pyramids are just giant QR codes for the aliens to get information back from the Earth.
I haven't heard that one. That was new.
Maybe.
QR code? Really? A QR code?
It was a comment on a YouTube video, alright? But it was something that made me giggle. And you know what? It's possible. It's not likely, but it's possible.
Well, I mean, I've learned not to denounce any theories or any conspiracies too soon or judge them by their cover. You gotta want to know. You gotta want to learn.
Yes, of course.
But today we're talking about the pyramids, all because it's a very, very mysterious subject. People don't know how they were built. People don't know why they were built or who built them. all we know is that years and years and years gone by, and they're still standing, and who knows for what reason? You know,
Yes.
are they calling the next alien invasion? Are we trying to like prove something here to someone? Or are we waiting for someone?
Well, we are here to figure that out, hopefully.
At least.
So, when were the pyramids built? The pyramids were built about 4,500 years ago, and they're made of a mixture of rocks that go limestone and granite.
Yeah.
And these aren't just, you know, teeny little bricks like what we're standing on here. They're very large and massive stones, weighing, there's about 2 million of them in a pyramid, roughly, and each one weighs about 10 to 15 tons.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's not very light. It's pretty heavy.
Pretty heavy,
And
yeah.
the thing about them is that they took about 20 to 30 years to build. So you do the math on that, with the distance from the quarries and everything, that means you would have to be laying a stone about every 3 minutes, approximately, of, you know, your typical 12-hour workday.
But see, here's the thing. We don't know in what time frame. Oh shit!
Almost watched a Kia crash into a Toyota.
We're live. We're live. Live action. Damn, I lost my train of thought. So shit. We don't know how in what period of time frame they were built though. Here's the thing.
Well, they were built. Well, we've got carbon dating that allows us to tell like when something was made, and we were pretty certain that they were made about 4,500 years ago, and that just goes to show how long they've been standing, and I mean, just the integrity of the buildings alone. That's a long time. I mean, we don't have anything that has been built in the past 100 years that is going to be here in another 200 years.
You say that they had to lay a stone block every so minutes.
Every 3 minutes, in order to make their time frame that they claim they built the pyramids in 20 to 30 years.
See, I thought my conspiracy. Well, I thought my theory was crazy, but I think that's crazier. Because I mean, these Egyptians or whoever built these pyramids, they must have been human, right? They must have been human. They must have not been like animals or big, huge ass beasts or whatever you want to call them.
Well, we're in the middle of the desert, so it's pretty hard to get a whole bunch of animals there anyway. You know, like that's one of the main reasons why we didn't see like all these horse-drawn things or something.
What if I told you that there was probably evidence? Well, there is some more evidence that those blocks or pieces of rocks of granite and fucking, I forget the other one. Sorry. What is it?
Limestone.
Limestone, right? Sorry. Granite and limestone, they were somehow formed. They were somewhat built on site or close by, and they were just brought up there with like, I believe, I want to say pulleys or levers or like maybe some kind of like construction. You know what I'm saying? Like a crane?
Because I thought that I still do kind of think that they might have been able to know the lever and pulley system and this, that, and the other, but at the same time we're talking about people that haven't heard of the invention of the wheel. They didn't put these things on carts and wheel them down the desert. They were on sleds and they were dragged.
You know, their hieroglyphics, sorry to cut you off. Their hieroglyphics talks about the beef and cattle and stuff, and those were beasts. They were stronger than we were, and imagine that was like their bread and butter. Like they had like these animals all around, like in their backyards and shit.
But they didn't have near as many as say like I don't know, somewhere in like England, right? England has very vast, grasslands, and there's many long hilly areas with lots of grass for animals to herd. Whereas in the desert, it's the desert. I mean, you have your Nile, but you don't have much rainfall. That Nile River is your water. You don't really have much water outside of that. So you have to kind of commune near that. And because of the lack of rainfall, it's always been kind of like a deserty kind of spot for millions of years. And it's just because kind of the way it is, its location. It's just kind of a desert. You can't have the masses of animals that would be required, but they did have people. They had Jews, they had slaves, and there are theories that people believe that these builders weren't all slaves. And I mean, honestly, I just don't think they're looking at the whole big picture. Like, sure, I completely agree and believe that there are thousands of people that were pretty, important in the pyramids construction and design, that were treated respectfully, like the architects and the main ones making sure the workers were doing their jobs. But ultimately, I mean, this required thousands and thousands and thousands of men working every single day. It's going to be really, really hard to get your population to go and build this for you, regardless of how you're perceived. Because the pharaohs they were perceived as gods, and that I'm this holy being and you need to worship me and this, that, and the other. It is possible to get the people to do it for you, but after so many have died, it's going to be very difficult for them to continue to do it for your glory when you're killing me actively. Now, I am kind of downplaying the sense that they could have had on humans of the brainwashing and the not brainwashing, but just the thought of I'm a god and you're a human, so you need to worship me and you need to do what I want you to do, point blank, period. Like, your life really doesn't matter. You have life because of me and because of the other gods, kind of thing. That's how I understand the pharaohs to kind of be. But I lost my train of thought.
All I'm saying is that these Egyptians, maybe they saw some shit. Maybe they saw the pharaoh whip out maybe one day they saw him spit fire out of his mouth, and they were like, "Holy shit, we got a fire, and we don't do it. And if we don't do what he says, he's gonna kill us all. Hide our woman." It could have been like that. Or they could have seen what these pharaohs or whatever gods, what they're what they really possess, and maybe the people saw it and they were like, "Well, you saw over there that guy with the lion head." He came out and over with the lion head and is devouring people with his mouth. He's lying. Wouldn't you be like?
I'd listen to him. Yeah.
I don't want to mess with that guy. The only thing I want to do is get eaten by a fucking half man and half lion, right?
Yeah.
So what if that could play a role?
It definitely could, and there are. I mean, this happened so long ago. There are tons and tons that is lost to time and history.
Man. I feel like back to the whole half lion, half man. I think the thing that they might have witnessed and what they saw was oh, that's some shit, that, not some fuck, is electricity. Do you know that these Egyptians had electricity back then?
I don't think they did.
I think they did. And hear me out. Bobby, I've been holding this up because I just wanted to let you get some ground where I wanted to see where you were getting, because I wanted to see if my theory was a little bit more out of this earth, but I feel like mine makes more sense.
It makes more sense.
Check this out. Regardless of regardless of how, if they were aligned to the stars or that, which I'm not counting this up, I'm just counting how they were built, right? So there's a guy, he's a German. I want to call professor because I really don't know what he's a professional at, but he's a German professor that goes by the name of Q Vong. Sorry, it's KV or VK, but the guy's legit. The guy's real. This man made a kind of a documentary going into Giza, the Great Pyramid of Giza, and noticing all the different hieroglyphics that they were, how it was formed, how the chambers were built, how there was a long passageways that had that high volumes of frequency, and how they by the fact that they had a fucking a gold style pyramid on top of it. It just screams a dam, electricity. These people, the Egyptians, were harvesting electricity. And if you think about it, right now, it kind of really it makes a little sense. Does not even make sense. If you think about it, the way that I'll explain to you, it kind of makes sense on how they were built. But I still think that they would use levers to shit, like pulleys and stuff. So the way that it was formed, it's a huge ass pyramid. It's a huge building. It's a huge dam. So with this, they accomplished height. When you're all the way high, what do you attract with all that height? You can attract a lot of things. Air, right? You can attract lightning. You can attract many things. You can also attract frequency.
You can attract lightning if it's metal. Yeah, it has to be electrically conductive.
And gold is a good electric conductor,
Yes.
right? And even you said that it was somehow like manipulated with silver, which I I honestly think it was 100% gold because
well, at the top of the Pyramid of Giza and perhaps others, there was this thing called electron. That's a mix of gold and silver, kind of together to make the top shine very brightly. And because when they were built originally, they had these very smooth and beautiful white faces that would reflect the energy or the light.
Miles away.
Yeah, it was literally like a giant ball of light in the desert that could be seen from so far away.
Must have been wonderful, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it had to have been gorgeous, and especially standing at 500 feet tall, like that's truly the sight to behold. Like standing there today it boggles your mind of it being there. Seeing it 4,500 years ago, upon its completion, it's like, oh, it's literally a shining, bright, white stone. Oh my God, it's magnificent.
All right, so before he comes by explaining the Pyramid of Giza, which I will be about to, let me finish up my theory. So they were tall. They had gold on top, and inside how they were built, the chambers and everything. Weirdly enough, these the way that the electricity from top and from the bottom, because these on the pyramids, they were built by the Nile for a reason, because there's water underneath. So these Egyptians or whoever, they built these huge ass tunnels going underneath in the water reserve, and somehow that helped them with accumulate electricity from the earth, right? From the earth. And also by the way that some I think graphite or gravel or some kind of mixture was that's where the pyramids were built on top. It's not sand. It's not sand. It's gravel or it's graphite or some stuff like that.
Yeah, they were surveyed very meticulously to find the best suitable location to house these tens of thousands of tons of stone, because otherwise it would just sink and fall apart and be unstable.
Yeah. So they had to build that foundation.
I don't know what it's built upon, but they did. They surveyed the best possible locations to find hard rock.
And this foundation that they built it helped grab and I guess somehow get electricity from the earth, right? So you got this gold sitting on top, which is a good conductor of electricity. You got water underneath, which is, we already know that can now be used for renewable energy. A dam. You get all that water, you get it up. But the most interesting part about it is that people mention the frequency part of the pyramids, and yes, they are frequencies, but that's for a reason. So when you got electricity, how are you going to move it? By frequency. Right?
Wires, yeah.
No, not wires. Frequency.
But how? We can't do that today. I mean,
Tesla did.
Barely.
Tesla did in the late 1800s. There's a picture of him holding a light bulb, and it's shining. And there's no wire. No wire. There's no little thing you can switch on and off. This dude's grabbing a light bulb and it's shining.
Where was his other hand?
I mean, he was taking a picture. I'm gonna post it up here, but I couldn't see the other picture, but he had that picture. And
his other hand could very well be holding onto a power source, allowing that power source's energy to travel through his body, because your body is majority water, 86% I'm sure, which does conduct electricity. It could have allowed the current to pass through his body, through his fingertips, and then into the metal around the bulb, allowing it to turn on.
But see, that's the science behind it.
But that's the same thing as wires. That's not transmitting, taking power here and then lighting it up here. You can do that with microwaves. You can light up a light bulb. You open a microwave and then you have a light bulb in front of it. You could technically, if it's strong enough, power it with that form. But they didn't know. These people didn't know what wheels were.
No. These people may not know what the fucking wheel was. Maybe they didn't know what day of the month it was. Probably, they probably did. But they knew what electricity was. I mean, you get the fucking pyramid. It's still standing. Yes. It used to be gold. Everybody knows that. The way that it was, the foundation that was built, and how there was water underneath, and then the frequencies inside the chamber. But I'm not finished yet. You think there wasn't electricity in there? Okay. These Egyptians, right? They had fire. Fire creates smoke.
Yeah.
Inside a building, you have smoke. It goes to the top. It's black, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're burning, but yeah.
Well, I mean, what do they have?
Well, there's black smoke and white smoke.
Well, let's say black, because that's normal.
Black smoke is what's bad for the environment. White smoke is like organic materials.
Well, okay, whatever the Egyptians used back then as fire, right? Because it's whatever, fire.
Yeah, you can fire, yeah.
Right, whatever, fucking bullshit. Fire, and whatever the smoke it was. All that smoke is in all the other like pyramids that there are, there's smoke on top. In the pyramid of Giza, there's no smoke. There's really not a sign of whatsoever. Like,
you mean, soot.
Smoke, like black shit, you know?
Like soot, that's the name. I was trying to think of that, soot.
There you go. There's really no evidence. All you see on top are like these murals of like hieroglyphics and
not in the pyramid of Giza. Giza, or at least the great one, the one that was believed to be the tomb of Khufu, I believe, whose body was not found, the largest, the Great Pyramid of Giza. That one actually does not in the tomb or in the holding where Khufu was supposedly supposed to be, which he was not found in there, by the way.
Yeah, no. Actually, no. Let's take that out of the way. The pyramids were not used as fucking like. It was not a cemetery.
Well, then again, at the same time, some of them were, because we found King Tut's body in King Tut's tomb, and King Tut's tomb was, for the time, I believe, it may still be, I'm unsure of this, but had like the most riches in it, they were.
I feel like the pyramids were not designed to be a tomb, because then they were going to be designed as a tomb. They wouldn't.
It was a great tomb. It was a great tomb that made you remember the existence of this human being indefinitely.
But I mean, like
it worked.
Yes, it did work. But then why would he go all the way out to have it like fucking like on top of a foundation that conducts electricity? On top you got gold that conducts electricity. On the bottom you got.
What were they using the electricity for?
So here you go. Here's that part. Nobody knows. But they had electricity, and the people that are finding this out right now, they believe that the kind of light that the electricity was giving was LED sort of kind of light. It wasn't like bulbs. It wasn't like this. It wasn't like that. It was actually like LED, and what they actually and there's like hieroglyphics on the pyramids that describe what they did. It shows on the pictures. They grab the energy, they put it through a transmitter, and then they put it through something called, I think, a jet or a flame or something like that. And it had like a snake, and it was like a coffin. That coffin illuminated light. It shined bright. And so all this stuff they were used, who knows? But what I want to theorize is that the electricity that these pyramids were accumulating, were making, they were using it for the pharaoh. So this man was getting electrocuted for power. But that's my theorizing. I haven't gone far. But when you look at the way that it was built next to the Nile River, and then how there was on the hieroglyphics it shows transmitters, and it shows antennas, and it shows signs that it's a light. There's I really gotta put this thing. But also, I've looked into another people who talk about roughly the same thing, that these pyramids were not built for tombs. They were not built for a gravesite. These pyramids were built for a dam. And since it's ancient Egypt, those people are ancient. They're long gone dead. They're thousands of years old dead. Those are the last remaining things we have left of them.
Yes.
And it's not and it may have not been it not going to be on purpose. It might have, who knows? But at that time, all they knew was, I need electricity, and I need it now. Another thing, another strange thing, where I found out it's in the pyramid Giza, where they found that sarcophagus or whatever, but they found it empty. The professor that I just mentioned, BK. He himself laid on the sarcophagus and started humming. Now, when he started humming, you would think that you wouldn't it would be in a closed space, because you're kind of the top is open, but the bottom, the sides are just sarcophagus. No, this man could hear the frequency and vibrations from the halls and from the stuff that was connected to it. He could hear it, and it was nothing there was no wiring as you call it, like there was nothing touching. There's a sarcophagus.
Well, that's sound, and
Right.
when you're enclosed in a stone box,
But what is sound?
essentially,
Frequency, right?
yeah.
Electricity can be manipulated through frequency.
It takes this absurd amount of sound to power something, though.
But
Sound is not a viable
but we're
source
not-
of
but,
electricity.
that's an example. That's the way that he like saw that the frequency could go through like everywhere, or he could get a lot of frequency. Now imagine if it wasn't frequency, but imagine if it was electricity, because electricity can go through frequency.
But these people only had copper. Like the only metal work that they could do was with copper. That's all they had.
And you know that
So all these stones were cut with copper tools, and these people didn't have wheels. They were pushing shit around on a sled, and I mean, like it was on sand. And the highest form of ingenuity that they possessed at that time was to pour a bunch of water in front of the sand, or right in front of the sled. That way. And with tests, that has been proven to reduce the force required to drag something through the sand by about half. But what the hell were they using electricity for? I mean, they didn't have like.
Okay, so remember at the beginning.
Like, what would be the point of them having electricity?
What if I told you to build more pyramids?
The pyramids were built in point of. Like electricity, our in America, the infrastructure of electricity, the power grid is set up because we have a need for electricity, because we have phones and cameras and cars and all this good shit. They had copper and stones, like they had sleds.
I'll tell you something. And it's cool that I still have more to learn about the Egyptians. By the way, shout out to the Egyptians out there. If anybody's watching, shout out.
Except for the guys that hang around the pyramids and try to charge people for outlandish shit. You guys are dicks.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a huge scam. So, like, if you ever go to the pyramids, there are going to be a lot of people. First of all, negotiate a price before you get on a camel. If you, I'm serious. I'm serious.
That's gonna be one of the fucking boss slots in the internet. Negotiate the price before getting into a camel. Pyramid.
I'm serious. I'm serious because look, here's the thing about it. If I just say I'll take you to the pyramids and you hop on my camel, you don't know how much you're gonna pay me. But then when I get to the pyramids, I'm gonna be like, yo, you owe me $50 US, and you're gonna be like, fuck you, and I'm gonna be like, no, fuck you. Like I just took you here. Exactly.
It's organic Uber.
Always negotiate the price everywhere you go beforehand. Otherwise, that's a little life tip. You will get into some altercations.
Hey, I'm not denying it. I actually approve that message. Yeah,
It's true. But everyone else in Egypt, yeah, you're great.
Shout out.
As far as I know, I've not met anyone,
But no. So back
Beautiful
to what I was
country.
saying, where they use electricity to build more pyramids. So, like, yeah. So, and it goes back to my thing that that people saw some shit. They saw that they were manipulating with electricity, and then they must have whipped out like a whip full of like electricity and started shocking people, or maybe they saw like lightning coming out of them, or they saw eyes or something, or they saw something, right? And they're like, oh, well, we gotta go and halal to these people. And now, like, the electricity that they use is electricity. You can do a lot of things with electricity. You can kill people. You can cook things. You can burn things, right?
Yeah.
Things going down the line. What makes you think that they cannot start build that up to heat up a generator that builds granite with limes with the stone and make these huge ass cubicles on site?
Because where is it all at? If people leave their shit behind.
So in the documentary that I saw by KV or VK, I'm sorry, he goes out to there's down the Nile River, I believe there's an island or whatever. There's a rock with hieroglyphics that's the recipe book to make these stones, and it's right there. So going back to the Sphinx and the pyramids of Giza and looking around, they saw how there was a circular thing made by the I think it's the side of the Sphinx or on the ground by the rock, where they got all the rock. They made that. But okay, so what kind of instrument were they using that's high powered or strong enough to cope it out like a piece of ice cream? Right? They must have used something powerful, right? Electricity. I mean, and plus
humans are pretty powerful when you have a bunch of them at your disposal.
And plus, another reason why I want to say that they use electricity. I mean, look at the pharaohs. The casting is all made of gold.
Mm-hmm.
It's all made of gold. Who in the right mind? These Egyptians that didn't know about the wheel, but yet knew how to make masterpieces like that.
Well, they had where Egypt is located. It's a very good place for gold. I mean.
And glass.
Yes, well, because of sand.
Right.
And I mean, like, it's in a little bit near Egypt, somewhere in Africa, relatively close to Egypt, there's this name Mansa Musa, a man named Mansa Musa, who was the richest man to ever walk this planet Earth.
Right,
I mean, he had billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of gold at under his command, and that was because of where he was from in his geographical region. That place is just, it has a lot of gold. And at that time, gold's it's really pretty, and they put gold as a higher has a higher value than other things, and it's held its value for thousands of years
because it's very useful
and rare and pretty and exactly and valuable, and they gave the gold to the pharaohs because that's how they lived in life. In life, they were dressed up in these beautiful golden necklaces and rings and covered in these huge head garments. They sat on thrones of gold and drank from golden mugs.
What if that was to conduct electricity? That's to harvest their energy. What if that's what gives them power? Yeah. Yeah, tell me that doesn't make sense. Tell me that doesn't make sense.
But there's no framework for the electricity to move. You could use the gold and then form it into little rods. And then put it to make the electricity travel from this to this. But they didn't know what electricity was.
And I feel like that's why Tesla. That's why Tesla
Tesla
man got murdered or something. Have you heard about the Tesla Tower? You probably haven't heard about the Tesla Tower.
Not so much.
Fucking Tesla was very. I don't want to use the word addicted, but he was very into the Egyptians to the point where he, I guess, cracked the code. He figured out that the Egyptians used the pyramids as the way they were structured to get electricity and to use it to their will and whatever they wanted to use. And Tesla figured this out. He designed the Tesla Tower. He even made it, and he even made it to like the exact specifications of the Great Pyramid. It's a huge ass fucking tower. It just doesn't look like a pyramid. It's not made of rock. It's made out of metal, right? So he showed people this technology that the electricity could move without any wires or any kind of like that shit that you call
talking about a Tesla coil.
No, not a Tesla coil.
Okay.
This is Nikola.
Okay.
Nikola.
Well,
right?
yeah, but Nikola Tesla also made the Tesla coil, which is this little thing that kind of goes up and has a ball on the top, and it creates electricity and then shoots sparks out from it, or bolts of electricity.
This is frequency. We're talking about shit that you can't see.
Okay.
Right? So he figured out how to manipulate that energy in the Philadelphia experiment. You guys can go look at this shit, Philadelphia experiment.
I will.
All right.
Yeah.
Look it up. And he was telling how he found these basically he cracked code that the pyramids were used for electricity. He even went and told to the science community, and the science community just shut him off. And it was not the first time that they shut him off, and they didn't want to listen to him because they thought he was crazy or they didn't want to manipulate. Back then, fucking oh man, who's a bitch? Edison, man, the one that supposedly allegedly invented the light bulb, but we already know that that's bullshit. He did not invent the light bulb. He bought the patent and he just perfected it.
Whoa.
Edison.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. I thought. No. Yeah.
Right. So this and if you go back to Edison and Nikola, they were the ones that having the discussion of AC and DC, right? Accelerated current and something D current, which basically everybody here uses AC. AC is what it's basically it rules everything. Don't really know about that, so let me shut up about that. But yeah, so Nikolai was known, not back then, but now he's known to get like shunned by like the science of community, like the community of science, or whatever. And it's because he found out like these great things. He found out how to harvest energy from the earth, from the dirt, from nothing. I'm not saying the Egyptians are stupid.
They definitely weren't stupid.
I honestly think they were pretty smart. I mean, look at these people. They're stuck in a desert, right? They're stuck in the desert.
They definitely were intelligent.
Out of nowhere, they made a pyramid. Who knows how the hell they made that? You know, I don't think that's stupid. I think that's pretty smart. They didn't even tell nobody how to do it. And I think that goes tied back to like the power, electricity, and all that shit. That's what they booby trapped them. You know, they didn't want them to go there. That's why they sealed them up. They're like, dude, what the fuck? You know, it's like if I was gonna die, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna be selfish. If I found if I had like a really cool power, what are you guys gonna use it for? You know, knowing that the world is full of shit, is full of bad, I'd probably like seal it off.
Possibility,
could be why they fucking closed the pyramids down and they said no mas. Could be the power was too big.
But then again, at the same time, looking at not just the Great Pyramid, you do have much evidence stating, you know, towards the fact that they were tombs and that they were these final resting places for these great leaders in their eyes, and that they were just so much above the typical man that they deserved this final resting place. Like I mean, like I said, there has been, you know, pharaohs found in tombs, and there have also been tombs that once opened from having been sealed off for thousands and thousands of years. That's why it was sealed off. It's a tomb. You don't need to be in there. I mean, it's a dead person with billions of dollars worth of gold. You don't need to be. You have no reason to be in there. Yeah, I don't want you in there.
I mean,
and so like, and grave robbers were a super common thing. I mean, people have been robbing graves forever because they know when you're wealthy, you're going to get buried with wealthy stuff. So
I mean, those are Egyptians.
Yeah, and it's happened forever, and unfortunately, some of the pyramids have succumbed to grave robbers throughout the years of history. But I don't know. I just don't think that they had electricity. I mean, I think they would have invented a wheel before they had electricity.
But they didn't, and they made a pyramid instead with gold, with that shunt, like that was so shiny. You know, it gave everybody a hard on miles away, and not even talking about the piece of gold that they stuck in. If they made that, honestly, if I saw a civilization that made a flying ship, and they don't know what a car is, I wouldn't be mad at that. I would be like, how the fuck did you guys do it? I'll be more amazed, honestly.
But it's the process of evolution, and you go from simple to complex, and the complexity behind a flying car is astronomical, because you have to overcome the continuous force of gravity, and I mean, there's just so much that you have to do to make that possible, when in comparison, I can take a piece of board, and then I can take 2 logs, and then some fashioned wheels, and then another log, and then hammer it through the wheel and onto the log with 2 spacers, and then I can push it down a hill, and I can just roll. And then when I get to the base of the hill, I can keep rolling. And then I don't have to walk down the hill or to my friend's house. Now, when I'm going up the hill, I'm kind of fucked, but we'll work on that. And then that's where motors come in, you know?
I don't know. What if the civilization was already so already into it, so already into the Kool-Aid that they didn't need fucking like wheels. They just had like hoverboards.
Why didn't the Romans have electricity?
Well, see, here's the thing. I don't know.
The Romans had wheels.
Well, did the Romans have pyramids?
The Romans had wheels. The Romans had the Colosseum. The Romans had the Mediterranean.
But did the Romans have pyramids?
The Romans had a lot.
But did the Romans have pyramids?
The Romans didn't spend their time building. They spent their time taking.
So the Romans didn't have pyramids?
The Romans pulled up at your front door, killed your army, and was like, hey, you now are under my command.
Man, I feel like the Romans, like the whole thing over there, it's like I want to call it like the pre-America, because Rome went down, right? That the whole thing went down, and people thought like, oh, Rome the Great, you know, everybody was like, damn, we're all gonna live over here, we're all gonna be good. The whole city was was already being divided. Play was being hit, economic was shit. Their leaders didn't give a fuck. They were more greedy than anything. They killed their leader. The only good one that was like standing up, trying to do the good shit around, like trying to like move like actual stones and trying to make like a currency. They went and killed him. So
you're referring to Julius Caesar?
Yeah.
Well, Julius Caesar did a lot. Okay, looking at it from the council's perspective, that's like I don't know, it's a very faint comparison, but it's almost like someone taking all this land for America and then showing back up to the American government and being like, I'm now the only one in charge. Fuck every single one of you. I'm the one in charge because I took all this land for us. You know, and that's kind of what it was, like, ultimately. But we're not talking about the Romans. We're talking about the Egyptians. I love the Romans. But I could go on and on about the Romans.
Let me ask you something. What do you think the pyramids were built for?
The pyramids were built to house they were built as tombs to house the pharaohs after death, and they were built. They started being built at a very fast time, and while the pharaoh was still alive. And you have to think the life expectancy of people was nothing in comparison to what it is now. People would die around 50, and that was old. I mean, a lot of people didn't make it out of their 20s and 30s because they didn't have medicine. They didn't have they didn't have an idea of germs. Like, germ theory didn't come around until like 1800s, 1700s, I think, something like that. And that was just the theory of it before they've even proven anything behind it. Like, they didn't know so much about what was around them. They didn't know that really what illnesses were. They had a very faint idea on how to cure them. This was 4,500 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a very long time ago. They didn't know much, but they knew that their leader, the one that gave them everything that they have, deserves to be remembered. And I think.
But see, it doesn't make sense because you said that basically the people did not really have a hold on for their leader, so why would they build a pyramid for him?
Well, because they did. The leader was perceived as a god, and when you're in the presence of a god, I mean, if you're a Christian and your God is beholded in front of you and in an appearance that allows you to be seen, then you're going to drop it to your knees in righteous, holiness and just love him and just praise him and just because that's your belief, that's kind of where you come from. It's like, this is the being that has given me everything. I owe everything to this being,
Don't bite that hand that feeds you.
And exactly. So in return, then they were ordered to build these great pyramids because having the God mentality is also a huge thing,
But you saying that they built it for their God, right? You're saying that the people who built the pyramids were Egyptians and not slaves?
Well, like I said, I think that some of them were Egyptians, but the people that were required to do this, I mean, slaves are slaves for a reason. You don't have an option. It's here or be dead. And as a living being, you have this innate ability to survive. You want to survive. Like, you don't know what that means, but you just want to continue to do it, Like, just regardless of whatever the situation is, you're gonna want to continue to survive. And as a slave, if your only other option is to get beaten to death, which, I mean, think about it from the perspective of a slave. It's like, I just pulled up with all these armed men with spears and shields and swords or whatever, and I took everyone that I wanted, and if you opposed me instantly, I just killed you. And then I took you here, and I told you to do this, and if you didn't do it, I began to beat you until you did it. I mean,
I say they were Egyptians. I say that they were not slaves.
I think some of them were. But
because remember what I told you, that they found the bones of people, people that had bones with fractures, and that they had medicine, and some of them even had not stitches, but it looked like they were cured.
Yeah.
Right. The Egyptians, I know. They're too fucking selfish to give that medicine to slaves. They're like, oh, fuck you. Oh, you got a broken leg? Why don't I just switch you out with Felipe over here, and we just get the broken leg?
They would work them to death.
But I don't know. I feel like that would be so much time consuming, especially in what you said. If these people were if they really stuck to that timeline of they were being built 23 years and put a fucking rock every 3 or 4 minutes or whatever. Then you want to make sure you got the best on best. You don't want to have.
But you don't have that many people being the best on best. You have no civilization if you're taking everyone to go build the pyramid.
So why not tell them, hey, listen, come build a pyramid and I'll feed you good. There's evidence of them being fed good.
And yet there's not evidence of hundreds of thousands of men being fed good. There's evidence of tens of thousands of men being fed good.
But see, they found what I'm basing this off is that they found actually like burial sites of like these bones that I was talking about, and in the burial sites they had hieroglyphics. No slave is gonna have no hieroglyphics.
No, they
I'll
weren't
tell
the
you that for
slaves.
sure.
That could
They're
have
gonna
been,
tell him up.
like I told you, that would have been that probably is the explanation for that in my head is those were the people that were under the pharaoh but above the slaves. Those were kind of the managers. Architect, just the managers in general, the managers of the project.
But they also found separate like burial sites for them, and there had different hieroglyphics too.
How large is the burial site? Because, like I said, this takes hundreds of thousands of men to move these stones. I mean, like, I don't know, maybe not hundreds of thousands, but definitely tens of thousands. I mean, these things, they're fucking heavy.
All I'm saying is that, y'all familiar with Minecraft? I'm saying the Egyptians somehow found a cobblestone generator, how to make a cobblestone generator, and they started mining that shit, and they just started moving it. Okay. And to kind of like start putting the cherry on top, because we are kind of running out of time. Another way that they use electricity is that they move the rocks with electricity. They somehow.
No.
Yes, I know. I didn't want to fucking believe it. I know what you're talking about. I know. Hear me out before you say no. Listen, I know. It's stupid. I know. I'm still basically. This part. I swear to God, I saw it.
All right, let me hear it.
But the way that they explained it, and I'll butcher it up, of course. I'll try my best.
Let me hear it.
Gold, crystals, electricity.
Crystals. Where do the crystals come from?
The crystals hold the electricity.
So that was their reservoir. That's how they contain the electricity.
But I'm not talking about just one fucking crystal. I'm talking about like
I get what you're saying.
So the gold they use as antenna. The crystals is what they use to hold the electricity. They said that in the pyramid of Giza that it was only positive positive electricity, no negative, right? Because what happens with negative?
I don't know much about electricity, if I'm being honest. Two things I don't fuck with are electricity and gas.
You know how in your car you have positive, negative?
Yeah.
You use both.
Well, that's to make the current connect, right? That's so positive brings the energy, negative relieves the energy from the battery, I guess, and then it moves it around. So it's a continuous loop.
These Egyptians, the ones that didn't know about the wheel, somehow manipulated that same energy so they could bring fucking pieces of stone.
But how did they create the electricity? That's what I'm saying. So for electricity,
they generated
how though?
From the ground. So in
the water, or in like the moving water, like a hydro dam, or like
the Egyptians, but there was a battery back then. They used
heat,
copper and fucking mud, and that's all that they fucking had on this jar. And in this jar, it accumulated that energy, and in that energy, like you could use for whatever. You could light a light bulb. That is true, right? But I'm saying.
I mean, I know there's like electricity in the air, but like
that's the thing that like I feel like that was before the Sphinx. Yeah, like I mean I don't know, man.
I'm so perplexed. No. But tell me, how did they use electricity to move these motherfucking stones?
So, frequency, right? You can only have so much like holes in here. So they made basically a hole in the excavation site where they were building. They basically made a whole corral. I want to say they made a whole corral. In that corral, that had frequency. You could put the fucking brakes and they would be moving around to wherever you need it. Boom, place. Done. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying that they use also the electricity to cut these things. Because if you look at them, how the fuck are you gonna get that precision cutting?
You're gonna do this, okay? You're
not that experiment. Not the whole fucking put the sand in that shit. Because how? Because when you go inside those walls, there's no room for a human to be going like that. There's no room.
Well, they were built from the inside out, right? So you started in your internal, catacomb, for word that I can't come up with right now, and then you build outwards, right? You make it bigger and bigger, building outwards. So you start with the inside, and you lay them there. You can't fit a piece of paper, you can't fit a credit card in between those two stones. They are perfectly put together, just like this. I mean, you can't fit anything in between them. But that just kind of goes to show to the true genius behind the engineering process, because ultimately it's not the workers who made that happen, okay?
It's the architecture.
Exactly, it's the people who designed it. Like, it's the same thing in a kitchen. If I'm the executive chef and you're my line cook, and you sent out undercooked steak, right, or raw fish or something, you don't have to go talk to the customer. You don't have to deal with any of that. You aren't fucking existent. You don't fucking exist at the moment.
Right.
I have to go out to the customer. I have to get talked to like I'm a fucking idiot. Like I don't know what I'm doing. Like I fucked up, and I have to make it better with the customer.
Right.
So then I come back here and I whoop your ass because you made me look like a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
You know. So ultimately, it's that I believe that's kind of how it was. It was like the people, the managers, for lack of a better term again, above the slaves were like, yo, you're gonna do it this way or there's gonna be serious fucking punishment. Like, you don't have a choice. Like, it's this or that. Like, you're gonna do it exactly how they have made it to be. Otherwise, you are no longer going to be in existence. Like, you know? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is definitely going to be a two-parter episode. It looks like we're running out of time on this one, but we will be coming up to you with another one very shortly.
Well, what do you guys think? Were the pyramids made for electricity, or were they built for what?
I think they were built for the tombs and, you know, all that, but we will get further into that.
I'm saying it's a waste of resources for tombs and everything in between. I said they were using electricity. These people were harvesting electricity. Look at Nikola Tesla. I mean, that man that man figured it out. And then mysteriously, you know, at the end he was broke, and then dead. How is a person of his status gonna end up broke? Conspiracy?
Well, I mean, you can be bad with money. I mean, many people have won the lottery, and to this day, like today, people that won the lottery X amount of years ago, today drive like a 2014 Toyota Corolla and live in a little two-bedroom apartment that they are paying rent on and still working. You know,
you're talking about a genius.
People that are bad with money, and genius in some regards. You're not a genius in all, and monetary genius and, you know, genius of his magnitude are two extremely different things. You know, I mean, money to him, my kind of consensus of money. Well, hang on. Firstly, thank you all so much for watching this this first part episode of the pyramids. We will greatly appreciate any and all feedback that you all have for us.
Wait! Before we close it down, the first part, we need to know the experiment for skeptic, because you guys saw it in the first episode of the THPTV podcast. We went out there and we shot the camera, and our results were inconclusive, allegedly. I still want to get more feedback from people and see if we want to do the second part. I really want to do a second part, and this time switch it out, go to fucking airplane. I mean, a helicopter and all that stuff, but I don't know. Do you guys want to see that shit? I don't want to, beat the fucking.
Yeah, we don't really want to just be beating a dead horse with a stick here, and then kind of trying to push more content out of something that's already over and done with.
So we need an experiment.
I know a perfect experiment, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the plan. All we need is your financial aid. I will be setting up a GoFundMe, okay, for the small sum of however much you can give. You can send SK and I, whatever the case may be, however much you can spare, you can send SK and I to. You have a passport? We're going to get you a passport. And we are going to be going to Egypt, ladies and gentlemen. We will, with your help.
Watch me move a fucking rock. Watch it be hollow.
We'll go to Egypt and we will talk to the locals and see their own personal experiences. And I'm serious about this. However, it is going to take some financial support because I live on my own. He lives with his family, and we've got shit to pay for. We can't just up and go and move on to and go to Egypt for 2 weeks. So know. But
we can take that part, or I was thinking we could.
Yeah, I'm totally down for it. If some of you guys want to send us to Egypt, I will be forever grateful.
Yeah, for real. If you guys want to send us to Egypt, I'm saying I cannot get across the country. I mean, I'm not saying I cannot get out of the country. I'm just saying that I need a good motive to do it. And this could be one of them. Goddamn. But I think I have one experiment, and I touched it a little bit on the skeptic episode, where we basically were lied to. Okay, so you know how these fucking people thought that by chiseling it with copper and a fucking helmet they would get all that. That's how they were taught in school, in high school, in elementary school, and so on. So I'll give you guys this. By looking at it right now, I want to see if you guys can figure this shit out, because when I figured it out, it kind of blew my mind. But go to your textbook, if you have a textbook, all right? Or maybe look up Google online, textbooks about how the pyramids were built. And try to figure out exactly how they were built, because I'll tell you this, it's not about chisel and fucking hammer. Nope, that theory has been long gone, and still we got these textbooks out there like with the same exact information. So I want to see if you guys can figure out if it's true or not, and then let us know in your feedback.
Yeah, tweet at us.
I want to do that for us. I want to go out and find a textbook. I want to find a textbook in the public school domain, right? That's like from a high school, elementary school, whatever. I want to get a textbook, and I want to see how the pyramids were built in the eyes of these historians, because I'm telling you, it's one thing about being skeptic, and another thing is being lied to, and I think it's really messed up to be lied to. And imagine being lied to all this time, saying,
I feel like the government lies to us for ages. I mean, we're lied to about so much things, but
I mean, this is THPTV podcast and skeptic. I want to tie it to the real world, so I want to give you guys the ball and see if you guys can figure this out, because I mean, I know the truth. And it's scarier than I thought, honestly, and so we're here. But yeah, so figure it out, and the other one, do you have an experiment that we can do? Because that's one that I want to do.
I don't know. I mean, we could kind of look at the logistics behind why it's a pyramid as opposed to another shape, and then kind of attempt to fabricate some other shapes in some magnitude. I don't know. Jesus. What are you even honking at? Look, there was nobody in his lane, and this man just drove through the intersection blaring his horn.
Jesus.
People are retarded out here, man.
That would have been good news. That would have been pretty cool.
It would be interesting to see a car. Hell, we've almost seen two here. I mean, it seems like...
Why don't we try to figure out something like the Egyptians did? You know how they harvested electricity using gold and water?
I have a perfect idea, actually. Okay, so the way that they built them to like become so perfectly so with the Great Pyramid, they we'll film the intro and outro later. So with the Great Pyramid, at Giza, it's like literally almost perfect in like all regards. Okay,
right, yeah.
It is like it's like perfectly due north, like all the sides line up perfect northeast southwest, like going like, so you know the base is like a cube, right? And then those lines going outwards go north, south, east, west, right? Like perfectly. And well, almost perfectly, but you have to account for the way that the Earth moves, because it is a sphere and rotational and this, that, and the other. It moves by a minute degree. So it is off by a very small percentage, however, very, very small. And along with that, if you take all 4 points of the pyramid, right, and then kind of go out, it covers the most amount of landmass, and it's like perfectly in the center. It's like
you times it times 14,000, or I think it's 47,000, but I know it's in the thousands. I think it's the perimeter or the circumference of the
circumferences of circles.
Basically the the whole entire face of the pyramid times 14 or 47,000 gives you the circumference of the Earth, allegedly.
Yeah, and it does. And on top of that, there's like there's more math you can do that equates perfectly to the speed of light traveling through the universe. And it's, I don't know, it's just like all these things that are connected into the Earth, like that are just natural, that like just are naturally occurring phenomenons that are part of our understanding of physics, that are shown in this pyramid. Like, I'll send him a video and he'll link it in the description. It's a short little 3.5-minute clip of a little YouTube video, but there are a lot of different phenomenons as to like just how perfect it is and how connected it is. So I don't know, maybe that one is probably the best one to focus on for like conspiracies, because the rest of them are like very obviously tombs in my opinion. But that one is it's massive. It was built.
I don't know. I mean,
it was built obviously.
We can do that. We can do what he explained. Or we can see if we can generate electricity with just fucking gold and water.
Yeah, I forgot my point, and so I trailed off. But the point was, like, so when they, him saying what I didn't explain shit.
I was like, yeah, whatever he said, maybe give you a better option.
No, but so basically the way that they did that to make it so perfectly was they had a string and a weight tied on it, and they aligned it with the stars. I don't know exactly how they did it, but we're gonna have to do some more research on it and figure out how they did it.
No,
and
I thought they did that to like kind of like
to provide the perfect basis of everything.
No, I thought they did that to check out that like the area was actually flat. Because last thing they wanted was a little, you know how one little bump you build on top is gonna,
it's gonna be yards off up top.
I thought that was that for.
That is very well. Yeah, that's to make it perfect. That's to kind of and so I don't know. I thought it would just be kind of cool to get the measurements of the pyramids realistically based upon the stars, because although you're not using the same stars, you could use stars here and use a little bit of math to figure out what stars you have to look at to find due north and this, that, and the other, and do all that. Well, no, that's what it was for, is to find due north. I'm retarded. I know so little about these people. It's terrible.
I feel like instead of conspiracizing, I was like more like theorizing. I wasn't rushed. I swear to God, I wasn't rushed. There's just so much stuff about these pyramids. But before I get off track, please continue.
But I don't know. I think it would be kind of a cool little experiment to just kind of figure out how they did it to, find due north. Because if we can't find due north with that, well, there's a high chance we're doing it wrong. But there's another way that it could kind of prove that maybe the pyramids were built with some other kind of thing or way or this, that, or the other. I don't know, some kind of experiment for skeptic. I'm a firm believer that the pyramids were built by fucking thousands of slaves that got their asses kicked throughout their life. And I mean, like, it was just hell on earth. But they did it.
It's there.
They did it.
Shit. I don't know. All right, well, shit. I guess we'll leave that up to discussion, and we'll I mean, you guys will have to find in this episode what the fuck we're gonna be doing. How about that? But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming in and hanging out with us and theorizing and talking about conspiracies about the Great Pyramids of Egypt. I know sometimes that we may sound a little too overwhelming, or we may sound jitterish or scattered. In my opinion, I think like that's my fault because I'm too excited. I mean, I've always theorized about these conspiracies and what the fuck is really happening, and wanting to find the truth. I just get so I'm like, let's go. No fucking point of view. I said they were made for I get so pumped up because it's like shit. I don't know, that's just me.
It's learning new things that alter everything realistically, so it's understandable.
Call me crazy, I'm just playing a character. My real name is I won't give you my governmental name, but I'm just saying.
It's something.
Call me crazy, I don't really care. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today. Crispy, any last words?
Yeah, we really appreciate all your feedback, kind, positive, negative, whatever the case may be. Thank you so much for watching, we really appreciate it. This will definitely be, maybe not make it. I don't know. We'll talk about it. There's either going to be a full another episode on the pyramids, or going to be a shorter mini episode. But we are definitely going to continue on this conversation of the pyramids, and we will have another episode on the pyramids before moving on to. Because I just feel like we can't close this book just yet.
There's so much.
There's way too much to go on from now, and with this, I think it's both lit a little fire in us to go and research much more.
I really want to write down some stuff about Nikola Tesla in the pyramids, and how he was really obsessed with him on his like dying days and stuff, to the point where all he was thinking about were these numbers.
Yeah, because I've never even heard of that theory. So
really?
No, I've never heard of Nikola's fascination fascination behind the pyramids.
So go jump on that rabbit hole, and then come back to me and you can be like, I'm sorry. And I'll be like,
cut that.
Yeah.
Gotta cut that.
I'll be like, don't worry, it's okay.
No, you just said your name.
Oh shit! Fuck man, I'll poop it out.
Exactly. I just wanted to make it known.
Hell no. I don't know if you even got that on the 5 mics we got around here.
Probably one of them picked it up.
Probably. But yeah, drive safe. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, and make sure you guys get a good ride on the camel before you jump on his back.
Yes, always negotiate. All right, anywhere you go in life, you gotta negotiate beforehand, because you will get into some altercations. And don't buy the CDs from people on the streets in New York.
You guys heard it here. Maybe not the first time, but you guys definitely heard it here first. All right, guys. Thank you so much. This was THPTV. See you guys in Skeptic.
Yes, indeed. Bye. Man, that's a wrap.
It's cold.